Have you ever come out of a conversation or a job interview thinking, man, why am I so awkward? I've been going through this myself as part of my job hunt journey, and I'm wondering, what is it that can make us feel so off-putting to people to the point where it's hurting the quality of our communication and, in the worst case, costing us a job? In this video, I will be exploring 5 things that could be making you seem less confident and how to fix it. So if you need this as much as I do, let's get started. Let's talk about layers of confidence. There are layers of confidence that could be failing you. And the first one is a general existential self-confidence. And that usually goes hand in hand with self-image. Now, there are tricks that people recommend for improving your self-image. One of them is seeing people the same as you. This is where you envision the person you're speaking with as flawed, imperfect, and human as you. And this can alleviate the urge to perform for this person and therefore alleviating pressure. Another one is being less afraid of failure. This is where you shift your mindset and understands that failure is a very common outcome, and this can lead you to try more new things more often and break you out of that fear cycle. Another one is the concept of unconditional regard. This is where you understand that you have value and worth outside of the value and worth that others might be placing on you. And this could be helping you care less about what people think. The last one is controversial. This is the concept of faking it till you make it. And this is where people will act super confident. They will speak loudly, make grand gestures, and they might make a lot of eye contact. And the idea is that the more you act as this confident person, the more you will embody them. This can backfire on you if you don't have the competence to back up that confidence. So let's talk about that next layer. Competence will be the foundation for your confidence. You have to be qualified to be speaking on the topic at hand. And in the context of an interview, the role that you're applying for. Now, we have to be so for real and accept that it's possible that we don't have the skills that the employer is looking for in that role. So you can do 2 things. You can work to improve your skills, or you can refocus your attention on roles that more closely reflect your skill set. Don't allow yourself to become delusional in your efforts to fight imposter complex. Imposter complex is a real thing, and it's a lack of self-trust, which we're going to talk about next. But imposter complex is not always the reason. It could actually mean that you need to improve your skills. Please let me know if you would like for me to speak further on imposter complex, because I have a lot of thoughts about this, and it could be its own video. So leave a request in the comments if you'd like to see it. But let's be real, I'll probably be making a video about this. If you're faking competence, it could take you somewhere. It could take you so far. And if you're lucky, you could complete the process. You could convince somebody that you know what you're talking about. But at some point, at some stage, you will be found out. People will understand that you don't actually have as much competence as you confidently tried to convince people of. So let's talk about that next layer, self-trust. And this is where you believe in your professional skills and you know you have what it takes to get the job done. And you can build your self-trust by retrospecting on your own experiences and remembering times where you added value, times where you performed the responsibilities that the role requires of you, the role that you're applying for, and bring yourself to trust your own competence in your own self. Now, there's an additional layer on top of that, which is kind of a meta layer, which is the skills to efficiently communicate your confidence and your competence. You can have confidence in your skills and the competence to back it up, but you can still lack the ability to communicate that successfully. In other words, you could be really good at what you do and have confidence that you could add value, but still be bad at convincing people of that. The next factors will explore potential reasons why you're struggling to communicate this competence and confidence package effectively. One factor that could be making you seem less confident in interviews could be self-sabotage. And this is the idea that you could be underperforming intentionally without even realizing it. There are two reasons why you could be doing this. The first is a limiting belief. This is a mindset issue, and it's the idea that you are actually uncomfortable with success because you're either unfamiliar with it or feel that you're not worthy of it. The second one is disinterest. This could mean that you're actually not interested in the topic that you're speaking about or the role that you're applying for. You could be thinking to yourself, yes, I know how to do this well, but I am not interested in it at all. And I'm seeing this experience a lot among my millennial friends. I'm seeing that they are becoming increasingly disinterested in their original career paths and the culture that their work environment is employing. I'm finding that as people grow and evolve and become clear on what they want and need, their tolerance for nonsense is dramatically decreasing. Let me know if you'd like to see a video on this topic. I have a lot of thoughts on what I'm seeing to be a millennial third life crisis. So leave a comment if you'd like to see that. In the meantime, get really clear on whether the path you're on is the path you want to continue down or not. Next, I want to talk about my exploration into neurodivergence. I started suspecting that some of my quirks were impacting people's perception of my confidence and competence. Now, I've always suspected that I've had some form of neurodivergence. As a kid, I learned to read ahead of my peers. I was hyperactive and I was extremely clumsy. As an adult, a lot of my communication issues are nervous tics or filler words, losing my train of thought, and struggling to keep eye contact. So I got curious and I took to ChatGPT to take an assessment questionnaire, and this took me down a rabbit hole. So if you'd like for me to go deeper into what I found there, I can make a video of it, so leave a comment down below if that interests you. I'll also make a disclaimer that I'm not a physician and I'm not giving medical advice here. I also don't recommend self-diagnosing with ChatGPT, but I do think that the findings are helpful. So I will walk you through what I've learned. And I looked at two conditions that are most common. One is ADHD and the other one is autism. So with ADHD, I found that losing your train of thought is common, and that is because of working memory struggles, and that can make it difficult to hold onto ideas while speaking. Going off on tangents is also common. ADHD brains tend to jump quickly between ideas, making structured responses really hard. And then there's verbal stuttering or filler words. This can happen when your brain is moving faster than your speech. And then with autism, struggling with eye contact and body language is a thing. This can unconsciously affect how interviewers perceive your confidence. Fidgeting and stimming can translate to my nervous tics. That is a way to help people with autism regulate sensory input. And lastly, difficulty with eye contact can be due to sensory processing or social differences. So I came out of this really pondering on a couple of things. My first reflection was, is it getting harder for neurodivergent people in tech because of the need for more perfect communication when some of the best people in tech I've met are in fact neurodivergent? The second one is, have we become so devoid of attention that we can't consume communication from the people who are most known for having an attention deficit? Another factor that could be making us seem less confident could be symptoms of trauma. And if you're dealing with recent trauma, if you've had repeated failed interviews or communications, you could become skeptical that any level of effort you put into this communication could yield positive results. If you're coming from years of an unfulfilling or emotionally damaging career experience, talking about your experience could reflect that. And if you go deeper into childhood trauma, there are some symptoms that could show up there as well. Symptoms like over-explaining in conversations, struggles with concise response in interviews, feeling the need to justify actions, and this thing that I've been doing recently, which is live self-evaluation. And this is when, as you're talking through a concept, you're preempting the interviewer's questions and answering them live. And that can come off as rambling. This is something that my career coach helped me identify. Another thing that you could be dealing with if you're ever asked to do a live coding exercise or a live demo, it could be really difficult if as a child you were pressured or rushed to do things quickly and perfectly as you were learning to perform everyday tasks. And especially if you had a grown-up who was verbally abusive as you're trying to perform these tasks, live coding or live demo interviews could be really triggering for you. Other things that I've experienced that could be trauma responses are the adoption of filler words. As a immigrant child, as I was learning the language, all the cool kids were saying like and I mirrored them in order to fit in and be accepted socially. Another thing is struggling with eye contact. This could be because I was forced to be hypervigilant as a child. So here's my approach to a solution. As I explored these factors, I started thinking about actions that could be taken to eliminate or mitigate their negative impacts. First is to fine-tune your skills. Put the time and effort into your growth if that's the direction you want to grow into. Now, there's a side note here that there is confidence in identifying the gaps in knowledge and acknowledging them and still having the self-trust to communicate that you know you can get the job done regardless of that gap in knowledge. Next is to label and identify. Now that you know what the factors are, you can start identifying them as you experience them in real life. And that gives your brain a chance to identify and label those experiences and make sense of them and make you aware of them. And in a best case scenario, it can even start to correct some of the behaviors. Next is treatment. If you find that trauma or neurodivergence are impacting your life in a negative way, seek a licensed professional and work with them to figure out how to navigate these conditions. Lastly is to practice. Once we have successfully identified and treated our problems and symptoms, we can master the craft of effectively communicating our competence and confidence. I looked into joining my local Toastmasters chapter, and I did that in an effort to try to improve my public speaking skills. But I ran into two problems. One is that I wanted a more accelerated growth than what I thought a bi-weekly meeting would provide me. Secondly, let's be honest, I was mortified to have to meet these complete strangers and on top of that, recite speeches to them. So I developed this 3-month program, and it's my 3-month public speaking accelerator. It has weekly assignments where you can craft messaging, cite those messages, and record yourself and watch back and critique yourself, and hopefully over time get that practice of fine-tuning your messaging. This is particularly helpful if you're ready to improve your communication skills but aren't ready to do it in a public setting yet. I'll add instructions on how to purchase it in the description below. I'm still working on finalizing it. As I go through the exercises myself, I'm fine-tuning it and putting a bow on it, but by the time I post this video, the product itself will be up for sale. So check it out, consider purchasing it. I am in the middle of a job hunt journey, so any help is really welcome, and I thank you in advance for your support. Success requires effective communication, especially as you climb up the corporate ladder. Last year, I attended a leadership summit and I observed a huge differentiator between line managers and the executive suite. That single factor was effective communication skills. Now, even if you aren't going through an interview process, improved speaking skills can be a major accelerator in your professional growth. Let's level up our communication and speaking skills together. Thank you so much for watching this video, and thanks again for the support. If you like this content, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. It's free and anonymous. If you're the kind of person who just likes to lurk on the internet, nobody will know that you did it. It just helps boost the algorithm and more people have visibility into this type of content. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.